It's time for Recipe of the Day. Happy Wednesday. Today I am doing some burgers that are made. The burger patties are made using fresh salmon. You don't cook it first. You mix it all together. I'm going to tell you how. Then you make these salmon patties and then you cook them. Now, I am just going to say that I also have a recipe on Cook the Story for salmon burgers that use canned salmon. So if you don't have fresh salmon that you want to use for this and you have canned salmon and you want to go in that direction, that is a really delicious and wonderful option as well. And so I will link to both of the recipes in the show notes for this podcast episode. Okay, how do you make these salmon burger patties? So for this recipe, I didn't really want a lot of filler. I didn't want a lot added to the patty to hold it together. You know, salmon is special and I don't want to dilute any of that flavor. And so I've come up with this technique that actually uses some of the salmon as the binder so that I'm not having to add any egg or breadcrumbs to the mixture. There are some breadcrumbs added as a coating to get nice and crispy on the outside, but not inside that beautiful patty. You see what I mean? Okay, so what you're actually doing is you're taking a 1/4 pound of your fresh, boneless, skinless salmon and you're putting it into the bowl of a food processor along with 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. And then you are processing that until it forms a paste. Scrape down the sides of the food processor if necessary. Then that paste is going to be what's holding together those burger patties. So the rest of the salmon, it's another 1 1/4 pounds. You're just mincing into pieces that are no bigger than 1/4 inch. So we don't want those to be mushy. We want those to have that chunkiness to them, you see. Then you're adding that salmon that you just chopped up to a large bowl along with your salmon paste, a 1/4 cup of chopped fresh parsley. You can omit this if you want, or you could use chives or dill. That would be fine. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. Just that beautiful little zing flavor that just brings out the freshness and brightness of the salmon and the parsley, but you don't really detect that it's ginger in there. You know what I mean? Okay, you mix that together just until it's mixed well. Don't overmix it. You don't want to start smooshing apart your bits of salmon, you see. Then you're going to divide that salmon mixture into 4 equal portions and shape each one into a tight ball. I find it very easy when making burger patties. Just start by making a sphere because you can compact it from all sides with your hands. Then once you have a nice tight ball, then flatten it into a disc that's about 4 inches in diameter. Smooth out any cracks at the edges with the palm of your hand. If you want to, you can even use a little bit of water to help smooth that down. Then you're dipping those patties in some panko breadcrumbs. That's going to get some nice crust on the outside of these burgers. About a 1/2 cup for the 4 patties. Put the panko breadcrumbs into a bowl or on a plate and then just dip the 2 sides of each salmon patty in there, kind of pushing down to get them to adhere. Then you're cooking the patties because we started here with uncooked salmon, so you do need to cook them, of course. So in a skillet, you're going to heat some olive oil, about 3 tablespoons. So you want quite a bit, and that's because the panko is going to soak up a little bit of the oil, and you do want it to be able to fry. So you're going to put 3 tablespoons of that oil into your skillet, and you're going to heat it over medium heat, and then you're cooking the salmon patties for 4 to 5 minutes per side until the internal temperature is the temperature that you like. The safe temperature for fish and salmon is 145 degrees Fahrenheit, and that is what you should cook it to. However, I know that a lot of people do like their salmon a little rarer, so you can take them off at 115, 120 if that is what you prefer. I like to serve these on a toasted potato bun with some lettuce, tomato, cucumber, and a little bit of sour cream. Or you could use that same sauce that I talked about a couple weeks ago when I was talking about poaching salmon, that creamy dill sauce. That would be amazing on this bun as well. Okay, I'll put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is April 30th of 2025. And if you make this recipe and love it, or if you have made and loved any of the recipes from either of my sites, cookthestory.com or thecookful.com, make sure you go and leave a comment letting me know and do the 5-star rating. The comment is super important because it tells me and others what you did, what you changed, what you loved. But then the 5-star rating actually helps me grow my business. people see those stars when they're searching for recipes on like Google or other places, and then they're more likely to click over and find me. So I really appreciate it when you do those comments with those 5-star ratings. I know some of you have already been doing it, and I am so grateful. Thank you so much. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.